Today's guest is a true game changer in the world of health and wellness. Dr. Marissa Canning is not your average doctor. She's a health hero on a mission to transform your well-being. We are talking naturopathy, heritage-based eating, and those insider information about sneaky stress triggers, and way more. But here's what sets her apart. She's a doctor who actually listens. This episode is about to serve you a healthy dose of entertainment and inspiration, and maybe, just maybe, some new perspective on natural healing. I'm Matt Mack, and I welcome you to Bloody Mavericks, where sanity takes a back seat. Dr. Marissa Canning, welcome.
Thank you for having me. That was a very sweet intro.
Awesome.
I love it.
I'm happy that you liked it.
Yes.
So Marissa, on the beginning,
Yes.
any funny story, any joke that you use on every party or every situation, anything that comes to mind?
Well, I'm not a go-to joke person, but I can tell a story going with the theme of today of when I was in Holland visiting actually where my grandma grew up. And my aunt still lives there. My great aunt still lives there. And so my sister and I went to Holland to visit her and to see my grandma's hometown. And she came to pick us up from the train station. And she is 88 and she's hustling down the train station to come and meet us. And we look out and we're like, is that her? Like, it can't be. She's walking so fast and she's like just going for it. And then she comes up and meets us and she's like, hey, come on, we gotta go. We gotta catch the bus. So she turns around and she starts hustling away. And we had our backpacks on. We have all these bags and we're trying to catch up with her. And we actually can't. Both of us were like huffing and puffing. We told her, we're like, we need to take a break. She's so fit and so like physically able. And she's 88. And it was just a totally different experience from what I was expecting, especially, people in Canada, in our community here, when you're older, you don't move like that, right? She took our bags and she just kept going. She was still beating us even though she took our bags. It was so funny. Me and my sister still laugh about it to this day.
That's amazing. That's a great story, actually. Since we are on the subject of your background and where it all came from, let's maybe start with some intro. Correct me if I'm wrong, but obviously you're Canadian.
Yes.
You've got Dutch, meaning Holland.
Yes.
Right? Background. You've got some Italian, German, and English.
Correct.
All right. That's mouthful.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure there's more, but those are...
That's right. The main ones.
Yes.
Okay. So how about we start with my blind guess today, which was the introduction to the German food and German cuisine. So today we've got some special pickles. We've got freshly made both Oktoberfest Wurst. So it's kind of a type of sausage with the proper German sauerkraut, the bread, the sauces. It wouldn't go without the mustard.
Yes.
And something that we all know in small form here.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretzels, but this one is a proper one. That's
the real deal. The
real deal, how they are made down there. And obviously, it wouldn't go without a good drink. So we've got 0% non-alcoholic Polaner, which is a Weissbier, so white beer. One of the most famous ones that is produced in Germany.
You nailed it.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. My mouth has been watering since you brought this out.
Good to hear. That was the idea.
Did you help yourself to any yet?
No.
No? right in. Oh my goodness, this looks incredible. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So you got all this locally?
It's local. The funny thing is, the place that I got it from is also called Wurst,
Really?
and it's on King Street in Toronto.
I think I've heard of that actually.
And their location looks like a setup in Oktoberfest.
It had all picnic tables inside, right?
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
yes,
A long kind of tables connected with each other, and whole lineup of beers from tap and diverse ones. So
amazing. Well, I'll wait for you, and we can have our first bite together.
no, go ahead. Don't wait for me. Maybe let's do this.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, as I'm telling that almost every time, but the part of the show is the introduction to different cultures, and that's the easiest way I know, and that's the first thing that I do when I'm going to discover different cultures is simply food, right?
Food, yeah.
How about yourself? What would be the first thing that you would do?
No, I think food as well, and just trying to connect with people. Trying to connect with the locals, and we really like to stay in Airbnbs that are more shared communities.
Yeah.
Or shared spaces, I should say. So we're staying in a room in someone's house.
Oh, cool.
We've done that quite a few times, and it's an amazing way to really get to experience the culture as well. Because typically, especially in Europe, they give you, like a breakfast spread of some sort, or they tell you the best places to eat that aren't so, hot, or, the places to go that are touristy, and you get to really experience the culture, and then also you get to connect with the humans that live there, which is incredible. Then you get to really get some rich knowledge on the culture.
I would definitely agree, like talking to real people, how they live, and seeing how they go about their normal day and routine gives you the best example of how the country really is.
Yes, yeah.
What we try to do is also find a place which is also, as you said, same thing, kind of out of the normal routes, in a little bit deeper in the city, so it's where normal people would be living, not the tourists.
Exactly.
And hopefully close to food market.
Yes.
So you can jump out in the morning and grab whatever is the freshest
the best part
around there, right?
Yeah.
So from your perspective, which parts are the closest for you from your background? What's the strongest influence? How much you know about any and all?
Yeah, well, I think the strongest influence would be Dutch, because my grandma she grew up there. She moved here when she was young, I believe she was early 20s, and she definitely maintained her culture throughout living here. My dad's side, my grandparents on his side, I never got to meet, so I never really got to experience their culture as much, though I have been to Germany and experienced this food firsthand, which is incredible.
Nice.
But I didn't actually get to grow up with that cultural immersion. And then my grandpa, he was Italian. He was born here, but he was Italian, and he definitely carried his Italian values into our family too.
So how does it spread on your lineage? Who is on which side?
So my mom's side is the Dutch and Italian.
Okay.
My dad's side was English and German.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Are they all first generation Canadians? All your grandparents were first generation Canadians?
Just my I'm trying to think now. So my mom's mom was born and raised in Holland. So, but no, my dad's parents were I believe they were born here. I don't know too much about them. They were born. They passed before I was born, and then my dad passed when I was young too.
I get you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know as much about that family, but.
Is it something on your radar to still discover and go deeper into?
Thank you.
Into the roots?
You know what? I don't as much as I would like to. I think partly travel would help, and we've been kind of cooped up these past few years. Yeah, travel would definitely help, and you know what? Our life gets busy, and now I'm with my partner who is Indian. Right, so that's a big cultural influence now.
For sure.
Yeah, so I'm learning a lot about his culture, and trying to incorporate that into our lifestyle as well. And he does a lot of cooking, Indian cooking as well. So yeah, there's in terms of my dad's side, I don't dive into it as much as I think I'd like to, but I'm sure with now we're able to travel a little bit more, then I will start to, because I would love to go back and really immerse myself in especially the German culture. That's something I'm very attracted to.
There are a lot of things like from my background as well, because I've got German side to my family. My mother's side is last name is Hintz, which was a German one, and then they made it Polish version with a C instead of TZ at the end. But there is still a huge part of the family, and I think the only person from the younger generation is my youngest brother, who is interested in, or not interested, learning and eager to go to Germany like fully. He's actually planning to go to university in Germany. So.
Really? Good for him. Is he in Europe right now?
He's in Poland. He's his last year right now, and he's finishing his high school, so he's got a lot of exams to go through.
Yeah.
And he's going deeply because he really wants to go to Germany. So
yeah, wow, so much experience ahead of him, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. On the Dutch side,
yes.
What are the main things that you have been around, that you've been introduced to? What are the things that come to mind as such a unique thing about Holland?
My grandma, she loved sweets. She was big on sweets. And it wasn't until I went to Holland, I don't know if it's just my grandma's family or not, because I got to stay with my great aunt, but it was the same thing. There was sweets with every meal. Anytime you had a tea, you had a stroopwafel, which is like a syrup waffle. Have you had those? Yeah, lots of sweets. And that was always her biggest influence on me, especially growing up, is like anytime I went over, she'd give me, cookies or whatever. And it was always like, oh, you're tired? Have a cookie. Right? And that was huge. So I love that, because she found a lot of value in food. And that was a big thing for her hosting as well, was to feed us all the time.
That's right.
Yeah. I also found that in my Italian side, my grandpa was very, very, very incredible at like connecting with people. And I think I carry a lot of that as well. And I learned a lot of that from him as well.
You can say a lot about Italians, but they definitely know how to host you and welcome you and feel that you've got a part in a whole gathering, right?
Yes, yeah. They know how to make you feel welcome.
From other things from your background, like anything comes to mind that you still want to go deeper right now into?
Like what? Inspire me.
I don't know. Even going to Italy, where your grandfather is from, or his family, and or Denmark, or Germany, or England, even, and going to archives to check the lineage and going through that, or trying to find some relatives that you never met yet.
No, that would be incredible. I did do my 23andMe years ago, and at first I kept getting matched with relatives and I was super excited, but it never ended up being like a real connection. So that would be amazing to find some relatives, especially in Italy, as you mentioned, where my grandpa grew up. He grew up southern Italy in Sicily.
Wow. Okay.
It would be beautiful. He always wanted to go back. He always wanted to take us. We never got to. I think that would be a really beautiful way to honor him.
Oh, yes.
To go see his hometown with my family. And my great aunt is still alive in Holland. She's in her 90s. I don't even know how old she is now. She must be 96 or something. But
wow.
Yeah, she's still alive. It would be awesome to go back there and to just experience her, while she's still here.
For sure.
And then Germany, like my sister and I did go to Germany, and we went more on we were younger. I think it was about 10 years ago now. So we went on a very touristy trip to Europe and did all the main cities. And I would love to just go back and do the smaller cities, do that a little bit more of the outskirts, like how I like to travel now.
For sure.
Because, it's not that you've been there, done that, right? There's still so much to learn.
Definitely.
So I would absolutely love to travel back there and discover. Yeah, it'd be amazing to see long lost family if we could make that connection.
Oh yes, for sure, and definitely I would agree on having that opportunity, going through a local small places. This is the way that we love to travel, just seeing how the life is and the reality of it, not just the glamour of a beautiful Instagrammable, however you say it, pictures, right? The beautiful beaches or whatever it might be, right? Or main touristy spots, but real small towns and the vibe of people being there, right?
Absolutely different vibe.
Oh yes, for sure. If you are thinking about your heritage and where you are coming from, and the whole 4 countries plus Canadian background as well, because you've been raised and born here, right? So
yes.
What are 1 to 3 things that you think that you still carry from your heritage, from what you've been raised with, or your predecessors taught you, or been sharing stories about that make you successful now?
I think a big one would have to be going back to the Italian heritage and saying, my grandpa taught me how to communicate with people and how to bring a connection in whenever you are, even in the grocery store. He was able to connect with anybody. Tim Hortons drive-through, everyone knew his name because he was just so charismatic and really wanting, not just a fun guy to know, he also wanted to know about you, So he had a really good way of connecting, and I learned a lot from just being around him. So I'd say that's a big one, and I think that is very true in the Italian heritage as well. So I think that's a huge one, and it definitely makes me who I am today, and I think it makes me a really good doctor as well, because I can, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not able to connect to the patient in front of you,
that's right,
it's not going to land, or they're not going to come back, right? So I think that is what makes me a really good doctor, and then it makes me successful in that field. And then my grandma was, and I think this is very true to the Dutch heritage, and German as well, is very hardworking, very dedicated.
That's right.
Shows up and gives 100%. And I definitely learned firsthand from her, but also even just through my travels, being able to see that and experience that. It's definitely something that I've been able to kind of take on. And I think that really does help to make me successful as well. I'm not going in things kind of half-assed, right? It's I'm going in and I'm diving in and I'm doing this 100%. And I'd say as well, learning back to the Dutch heritage is this connection with family. Very huge value. with family. Massive value. And my family has raised me and influenced me up to continues to at this point. And I value that so highly and so deeply. So I think that definitely has, again, made me who I am today, but also contributed to my success.
So it seems like there are three main things that you go with through your life, which is, first of all, listening and speaking with people, then the hard work. On speaking would be Italian side of the family, hard work would be the Dutch side, and a little bit German as well, and connection to the family. I would give a connection to the family to all the parts of Europe, because that's a big one in the old continent, that every country around is family, around the family and those values, which is pretty amazing. Yeah,
and it's so, I don't want to say opposite, but it's very hard to find when there's in our community here, right? Especially, in Toronto, it seems very disconnected and everyone's in their own world. And not to say that people don't value their families, it's not true, but it's just, I think the way that Europe really cares for family is different than the way that we do here. So having that cultural background is so valuable to me.
The funny thing that comes to mind for me is this conversation I had not too long ago about the way how cities are built in Europe, and even with our neighboring province, which is Quebec, where everything, the center of the city is around the market and the small communities. So especially in one building, you will have multi-generational families living in them, and that's how whole Europe is built, right? So and here is everybody has their own thing, and they're usually really far from each other, but still amazing part of it all is that there are communities that still try to keep that culture going, right? And internal family dialogue. And
there are. And even like living in Brampton, there's a big Indian community, and there's so many houses that have generations in them. That's some right. on our street, and it's so beautiful to me because they say whenever you're raising kids, it takes a village, and it's not just a saying. It comes from everybody plays a role in this child's That's upbringing, right. And I think again we just lost that to a certain extent in today's society. So it's really great to still actually be surrounded by it in Brampton with a lot of the Indian culture that's there.
It's really nice that on the saying to raise a child, it brings it takes the village, but I know I have learned the other way of saying it, which is German way of saying to raise a child, it takes a value of the Mercedes-Benz. So that's
the German way.
That's a German way. Just comparing it to what you are investing into, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, huge investment, time and money.
Oh yes, for sure, definitely. How do you embrace your heritage?
How do I embrace my heritage? Good question. I don't. I'm just reflecting on it. I don't know that I do. I don't know that I do it, especially not enough. Probably in little things day to day that have just been ingrained in me. But I don't know that I do really embrace it. I don't scream it from the rooftops or,
for sure.
But I do really. I think being with my family, it definitely comes out more whenever we're together. But otherwise, I don't think that I do enough.
It is difficult to say how you embrace, but you just from what you mentioned before, which is the parts that come from your lineage that you still kind of carry with you through your life. I think that's a big part of the embracement. Now, at the end of the day, do you need to scream from the rooftops, or can it just show through your actions, right?
Yeah, true. True.
Okay. Let's go towards the Maverick, what you do, what you are great at, and maybe let's start with how you see, or what do you think, what does being a Maverick mean to you?
So what I do, like, you mean like what I do in the world? Like how, like as a doctor, you mean?
Let's start with the Maverick. What do you, like, what does basically being a Maverick mean to you? And then we're gonna go deeper into what you do.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't really know, to be honest. I guess being a Maverick means like being like leading your own way. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like creating your own path and choosing which direction you're going to go down, and kind of doing that with this sense of leadership and hope.
That's right. It's really good definition for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody
I'm curious to hear yours.
Everybody has their own, actually, because it's for me it is going through life on your own terms and finding the way how to not to get tied into other people's way of thinking, and like following your dreams, actually, right? At the end of the day, doing something that you want to do and not being afraid. That's like, you're gonna be afraid at the end of the day, but just breaking that fear and going outside of your comfort, just following what you do. You are the best example, because you have your own practice, and you go about doing the things that you are great at, which is being a doctor. So Marissa, tell me how you went about getting into being a naturopathic doctor.
Well, I actually wanted to be a physiotherapist. I went to school to do kinesiology, just knowing that I love the human body, not really knowing what that meant for me in terms of future, but knowing that with that hope that it'll work itself out. So when I graduated, I decided I was going to take a year off, but I wanted to become a physiotherapist. And I took a year off, and I worked at a chiropractic clinic as a kinesiologist. And I actually did apply to be a physiotherapist, and I got rejected, which was surprising to me because my grades were really good, and physiotherapy is a really hard thing to get into. I think it's quite competitive, but I was like really taken aback. That just never happened to me, and I was like, wow, like, okay, I'm really committed to this. Let's take a year off and try again. And I'm going to up my resume, and I'm going to work in a chiropractic clinic, and I'm also going to volunteer in a physio clinic, and I'm going to really nail it next time. So I took the year off, and I worked as a kinesiologist, and there was a naturopath in that office. I didn't even really know what a naturopath was, and I had seen one before, but it didn't like fully whatever. And so I really got to learn what she did, and I think I only went to go see her for one visit. I wasn't even like, that blown away, but it was just realizing that there's another way to looking at health and to looking at the way we approach medicine.
That's right.
That was like, what? Like, I didn't even know this existed. And so the chiropractor I worked with too, she was very naturally minded. So she was always giving, it wasn't just crack. She was always giving diet, lifestyle, supplement recommendations. And I thought, wow, like, where would I learn this? Like, this is so cool. So in the meantime, I started working at the physiotherapy clinic and at volunteering, and hated it. Just, day in, day out, doing the same things, elbow, knee, spine probably. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like, where, I don't know. I just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can't apply to be a physiotherapy again. And I decided that I was going to do naturopathic medicine, and I applied, and I got in. And even going to the school, I was like, I don't even know for sure if I want to do this. Like, I just found out about this. Like, it wasn't like this was my calling for years and years and years. It was just like, wow, this looks really amazing. I'm going to give it a go. So I even went to school. I remember my mom talking to me and saying, you know what, just go and see, and you can always pull back.
That's right.
But first day I went and learned. I actually just learned what is, I remember going into class being like, I don't even know what botanical medicine means. Like, what does that mean? Homeopathy. What is that? And they just give a little intro. Like, first day I was like, this is what this class is going to teach you. This is what this class is going to teach you. And I was like, what? This is crazy. So I got to learn along the way, but I also like learned the knowledge, but also learned what it was. And it's incredible. And I knew right from the first day that this is exactly where I needed to be. So that was the path I took. And yeah, it was like learning all of that and learning a different approach to looking at someone's health is incredible. And I just want the world to know, about that there is other options. A lot of people go, I don't feel right. And you go to your medical doctor, oh, everything on the blood work's fine. You're fine. That's right. And it's dismissed, right? It's like, well, not quite. What else can we do? Sure, you're not sick. Sure, your blood work's not off, but what else can we do? Like, how else can we optimize your life? What's missing here?
Are those two things the only markers that you go about checking someone's health, right?
Right. Yeah. No, if somebody's feeling off, then that's the highest marker that you can use.
For sure. And for people who do not know what naturopathy is, just a 5-year-old explanation.
So naturopathic medicine is basically offering health solutions or recommendations. This could be diet advice, lifestyle advice, sometimes supplements, sometimes acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy. And it's looking at, okay, you're coming in with a symptom. And my view is why? Why is this happening? So then I offer these types of recommendations, not only to help you with some symptom relief, but also get to the root of why is this happening? What is out of balance in your body? And we rebalance it from a root cause level instead of just kind of chasing with symptoms. And it's
instead of putting a Band-Aid on the wound, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like you're getting headaches. Well, I'm not just even going to, like, the doctor might just give you Tylenol. I'm not even just going to give you like natural Tylenol. I'm going to figure out why that headache's happening in the first place. Is it too much stress? Is there tension in the neck? Is there a nutrient that's missing? Is there a food sensitivity, right? So I really dig into each person. It's not cut and paste.
That's right.
The person in front of me's health, and then really dig into that root cause.
I can attest to that. I remember the first questionnaire that we went through, it was so long process. And I was like, do I really want to do it? And but at the end of the day, after a first visit, both me and Kat, my wife, we both knew why you ask all those questions. And then on every visit, you ask ton other questions just to tweak it, go about it. And for us, and for me, myself personally, naturopathic medicine started with just visiting Asia and seeing super healthy people, even though some of them weren't eating the best things, but they were looking lean, fit, and at the end of the day, they were like, some of them were super old but still going, like the best example was your grandmother, same approach and same way. And then started researching, going a little bit deeper in the Eastern medicine, and that's through recommendation. That's how we found you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love working with you and Kat.
Awesome, thanks. So what would be a success for you? What does mean for you?
Success to me means huge impact.
Okay.
I think I feel success every day in what I do, which is, I know it's rare, but I feel very, very grateful for it because I get direct feedback from my patients each time I see them, or sometimes they email me or whatever, of the impact that I've made in their life.
That's right.
And I think that's, to me, the biggest marker of success is this impact that I'm making.
And I think something that I mentioned in the beginning is your level of care, as you really going deep and finding multiple solutions to even one problem and trying to find the solutions. And if they don't work, you're going to go about digging deeper and finding another ones and going until you're going to find the proper way to solve the problem.
Yeah, we don't stop. We don't stop. There's no end game, because even when we get to the problem is solved, it's like, okay, well, now how can we optimize? How can we boost you up so you can feel like your best self?
That's exactly how I feel our relationship and you kind of going every time after the problems. The funny thing is that a lot of people would not agree that I know that everybody has something, and it's always going to be something. The only difference is how you're going to approach it. And at some point also for me the stepping stone to us going deeper and reaching out for help with you was me trying to get rid of flare up from supposedly gout, who nobody would ever kind of even see me because it was through the pandemic and nobody would properly assess it, and they were trying to basically drug me with another pill that didn't work and just test me as a lab rat, which I got sick and tired of. Because if you just read the labels on those pills or any type of medicine, there are so many side effects that, like, at the end of the day, trying to solve one thing and destroying another 5, is this really a solution, right?
Yeah, and there's a time and place for pharmaceuticals for sure, and it's just unfortunately that not enough people do seek the naturopathic medicine world, because there are so many amazing solutions, and there's no magic pill. That's the one thing, right? You have to be ready to make the change. Like, it's not like I was like, hey, Matt, take this pill and this will cure your life. I said, I gave you a list of things that I'd like you to do. I'd like you to work on your sleep. I'd like you to, like, do all these things.
That's right.
Your diet, some coming for acupuncture, right? So there was a whole bunch of things that you needed to commit yourself to, and you were able to do it. Kat was able to do it and see the results from that. But not everyone is really ready and to do that, to commit themselves to those types of changes. But as soon as you're ready, it's almost like this light switches on inside. That's true. It happens eventually. As soon as you're ready, this light switches on, and it's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm really ready to work on myself. And sometimes it does take, a situation with the Western medical world, knowing like, wow, they really don't care about me getting better. They just care about me being out of symptoms. But now I'm going to be on this for X amount of years.
I would even go deeper to, they care only to cross me out of the list so they can go after another one.
Yeah.
And just...
Yeah, it depends on the doctor. There's some great ones, and there's
for sure.
Not so great ones, for sure.
That's right. And it's... At the end of the day, for me, myself personally, it is about trying to be healthier and trying to take care of my body to the best of my abilities. I've got my ups and downs, obviously. Like, I love to indulge with great food, and or I've got that sweet tooth that I'm gonna allow myself to go with, but then I'm gonna go to the gym and work really hard as well, just to make sure that the balance is there, and there's that yin and yang, so my body still is in the best shape it can be. And I know that if I do that once, it's not gonna cross out the whole work I've done so far, right? So because of the approach. Right?
Yeah, you're doing this for a healthy lifestyle. You're not just doing this, to be healthy in 8 months from now so you can reach this end goal.
That's right.
Because I want to live for my healthiest life for the longest amount of time possible.
Yep, for sure. Just being the best version of yourself, physically, mentally, and professionally, right? So, and the funny thing is, all of those things tied up so nicely that if your body is down, you're not going to be mentally or professionally good, because you're going to be drained of energy. You're going to have aches. You're going to go through different physical problems, and that's going to decrease the better version of yourself, right?
Yeah, it puts people into this survival mode where they're just trekking through. They're going to work, they're coming home, taking care of the kids, going to bed, and rinse, cycle, repeat, whatever that quote is.
That's right.
But it's like people just live this monotonous life and think that's just what everyone else is doing. So c'est la vie, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can really, you can really enhance your life in a lot of ways. Health being a massive one of them, but not exclusively to that. There's the community, there's connection, right? Like family connection. There's happiness, there's movement. It's also important.
I love that about you and your practice, that you very often suggest the way of like you even try to review the mental state of your patient and during the visit and what's going on in their life, and also the social part, I would say, and how they go about their life, satisfaction, and all those pieces, because then based on that you've got a bigger picture that you can assess the person better. And how does it help with your work
to know someone's like what's going on in their life? Yeah, well, I really first I get to learn their perspective. So some people are like, you know, this is happening, and work is, you know, it's all happening to me, right? It's like this big victim mentality.
That's right.
And it really helps me to open up their eyes, or to help them to shift the perspective on life, because even like a lot of the things that we do, even if life gets 10 out of 10 amazing, their health is all cured, but they're in that victim state, they won't even see it, right? Like they won't even see it. So that's something I definitely need to work into and work with on them. So one reason I ask about home life and whatnot is perspective. What is your perspective on the world? The other thing is, are you supported? Yep. Support is massive, right? And if a lot of people, you know, aren't feeling supported, they don't have that network at home or in their community or in their friendships, and they're really trekking through this alone, then That's I know right. that I need to really connect on a different level during our appointments, because I'm going to be one of their support people. So we're not just going to go through, you know, their physical health. I'm going to ask them about their dog. You know, I'm going to ask them about, you know, like these types of things. That is like, this is important because nobody else is. So I can be one of their support people even deeper than maybe with some other patients. I think those are two really big reasons why I get into it.
I would say that you basically going after one of the greatest principles of Dale Carnegie, which is basically being great conversationalist, which at the end of the day, being great conversationalist is being a great listener, right?
Yeah,
so asking
absolutely.
the proper questions and then listening on the deeper levels.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of people do talk about their culture and their heritage too, right? And I find that so important. Like some people, like one person in particular, she's from the Philippines, and when she came here, she just started eating like we do.
Yeah,
and she was getting so sick, like it's so much bloating, right? And so many digestive symptoms and among other things. And I talked to her about her heritage, and it's like, well, what would you be eating at home, right? What are you missing here? And when she started eating like that, in accordance to her genetic makeup, her health changed,
of
right?
course.
And people think like, what? Yeah, but kale is good for me. Like, well, do you have, like, is that something that you would be eating there? If not,
That's right.
like, you can't look at a textbook and find out what's good for you.
Yeah.
Right. So, and especially I see a lot of Indian people in the community as well. And those spices are so vitally important for their digestion.
Yeah.
Probably all of ours, to be honest, but especially theirs. And when you start to steer away from those spices, you can see some digestive changes. So your heritage plays a big role in your health as well. So I like to dive into that too.
This is amazing that you brought that up, because now when I'm thinking about it, since we have been traveling through different countries, I've been living, Kat was living in UK, then she came to me to Norway, so we both are born in Poland, so that's a completely different cuisine, different climate and all of that, different type of foods. And then we moved to one country to another, and coming here to Canada at some point, when I'm thinking about it, every single country made side effects in us. There was always something that didn't line up properly, right? Which is funny, because only if you stop and think about it, like this just came up to me when you were talking about the cultures and people coming and talking about it. It's like if you are moving to another country, and you need to take under consideration, first of all, what you will not get there, that is back home, and how you need to adapt your life towards whatever is accessible. It's a big one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big one to balance too.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's integral. You can't just because you're somewhere else, you can't just ditch your heritage. Right?
Yeah, well, it's even on biological level. It's like I'm feeling like a lot of the funny thing is what we have today. It's really familiar for me because in Polish cuisine there's a lot of pickles as well, and sauerkraut is one of them, which is really great for the gut health. And I remember as a child having a lot of gut health issues as well, and even being back home. So it all changes through the years, and there's so much that you need to really learn about yourself, about your body, how it's changing, how the external factors and internal factors will influence how you go about living.
Yeah, even like sun accessibility.
Yeah. Oh, that's
it's like coming to Canada. Like that's a huge change for a lot of cultures who had sun 12 months a year. For sure. Like, and we still have sun in the winter. Like, but it's not. The vitamin D actually isn't even accessible because of the angle of the sun. You can't actually absorb vitamin D from the sun. Yeah. So that affects people's health so deeply.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah. No, there's so many elements to it.
So if you would. If someone would ask you about naturopathic health, why is it, what's important, or what would be the thing that you would like other people to understand about it?
I'd say like a lot of people just think that it's like it's written off. It's not going to help me. I'd say the one thing I want people to understand is it's very likely to help. Like I can't guarantee anything.
Of course.
But it is
like
very
nobody
likely to
can.
help. Yeah, yeah.
None of the doctors can guarantee that.
Right. So it's not to say that you have to see a naturopath and not a medical doctor, right? You can see everybody, and hopefully everyone can work nicely together. Yeah. Not always the case, but it doesn't mean that you have to choose one or the other. It can mean that you can go to see a naturopath and receive advice, recommendations, and and see some positive changes from that. I think everyone would value from seeing a naturopathic doctor. And I really think that you just have to experience it and go see a good one. Like, we're not all created equally. That's right. Do some research as to who's in your community, and who you resonate with, right? At a different, like an energetic level. Like, I'm very attracted to this person, not physically, just the energy that they're carrying. And I'm going to try this person, and I'm just going to see if there's a connection there, and if they have anything to offer me. I'd say that's the one thing I really want.
If they hear you.
Yeah, exactly. If that connection's there, right? Because I think that's a huge thing that's lacking in the Western medical community too. Is they're not always listening. No. Yeah.
They already have a preconceived notion of what's your problem because you told them what it is. Yeah. And they already know which medicine just to prescribe you, so you can get lost.
Yeah, often. Again, I actually had a really good medical appointment. I just needed an X-ray recently. And the guy my medical doctor was so thorough. And I told him, I was like, oh my gosh, like, where did you come from? I've never met a medical doctor like you before. Yeah. And I expressed my gratitude to him and the way that he approached medicine. So I know that there are good ones. It's just really hard to find ones that are not. Maybe they're tired, maybe especially over COVID and stuff. It can feel quite dismissive often.
Yeah, for sure. When I'm thinking about you in particular as a doctor in our scenario, I'm thinking about you as my kind of a family doctor, which I just realized recently. Yeah. After doing a medical for insurance. Okay. And I was asked.
You wrote me down.
Yeah. I love it. Thanks to Kat, actually, because I was asked for a medical doctor, and I was like, I don't really have one because I didn't find nobody that I resonate with. Exactly what you said. Yeah. And then Kat was like, "Yeah, you have one, Marissa."
I love it.
Yeah. So and yeah.
What an honor.
I just realized that she's right, and that's actually how we treat our relation. Where I'm gonna ask you, as a family doctor, more. Yes. Ask you for a recommendation or assessing me in general, but then you're gonna still, if necessary, send me to the specialist in the field that I needed.
Exactly. Yeah, and referring is massive in what I do, and I know my limitations, and I know where I can work and where I can't, or where I feel like, you know what, we need some deeper work in this area, so let's refer you out to this, which I've done for you as well before. For sure. So I think that's essential, and I think that's a sign of being a good doctor too is knowing that you're obviously not going to be able to do it all.
That's right.
Right? But you can support along the way and kind of help you to navigate who to go to.
I think the great example of that is what we are doing, or you in particular, with my breathing, because I always had problems with my deviated septum, and then problems with breathing, and I need to use a lot of the medical dilator, I would say, so I can breathe properly, because I get stuck really hard. Sometimes too, when I was assessed by the proper doctor, it was like 20 and 30% of breathing capacity.
Wow.
On one and another nostril, or 30 and 10, something like that. It's something crazy actually. And then you started giving me some advice and some recommendations. I went after them and checked and started practicing them, and that helped.
Yeah.
But then we went about building on top of that, right? So then I got the recommendation to the chiro who's doing the balloonoplasty, which was another great thing that opened up my skull and my breathing pathways a lot. But then again, there was a challenge, and you came and find another solution and keep on trying. You are not just dismissive, and you will not just tell me, okay, we don't have any other solutions. You're still gonna be digging and still gonna be going after until we find the solution, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not gonna stop, and I'm not gonna just kind of be like, oh, well, c'est la vie. Like, this is your health and this is your life, so I'm gonna be on your side, rooting for you, and also, hopefully giving good advice along the way. Oh
yes, for sure. And the beauty of the whole naturopathy, that I, at least in my understanding, is that you look at the person in a holistic way. It's not that I have problem with my breathing, where it's coming from, right? There's structural changes in my bones, there's a stress factor, there is a broken nose, which is another one at some point in life, and there are multiple factors that might be some inflammation in the body, right? You're gonna assess the whole thing, even my stress levels, right? That might be causing certain reactions, which I love about the whole process and how you approach things.
Well, thanks for saying that. It's nice to hear.
It's I think it's super important for people to understand as well that there are natural ways to be solving your health issues and wellness in general, right? And you don't need to be eating one medicine to solve one problem and then another medicine to solve the causes of the previous medicine that is screwing up in your body, and then another. Like, the best examples are my grandparents, who are basically eating the handful of drugs back home, and like you cannot get through them. Like, there are some things that they believe in natural not natural, the old type of medicine, the structure of medicine, and they believe whatever doctor will say, and it's
it's tough to get through, but that's what I mean. They have to be ready.
That's right.
You can't force it on people, because there is a paradigm in the world that we live in right now that one is above the other, and unfortunately there has to be sometimes something shaken up to really even be open to the alternative world. But there's so much to offer, and like you said, it's a very holistic view. It's not just like in a tunnel, like, oh, you have headaches, well then here's this. It's you're looking at the entire body, and for me it's like different pieces of the same puzzle. It all fits together, and for you it's like, I also have this, and I also have this, and I also have this, and for me it's like, oh well, yeah, that makes sense, because this is leading to this, which is leading to this.
That's right.
So we're gonna work on this all together, and not just here's this. Next time we'll work on that. It's all now. Yeah,
it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
And I think then, still going back in my memory where it all began, as you said nicely, people need to be ready to go to naturopathic medicine and try it for themselves. But still, at the end of the day, you need to try multiple things. And I have been I have been doing cold showers for right now. It's gonna be it's over 5 years.
Wow, good for you.
And
before it was trendy.
Before it was super trendy, yes, for sure. But still, without Wim Hof method, I wouldn't be starting it.
Yeah.
And we still are doing cold dips when we can during the winter. And if I could, I would have a tub outside just to dip every single day, because I feel and I know the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting on that point, and me getting from the level of being a healthy young person and being sick about twice a year to not being sick at all.
Yeah, massive change.
Just for doing cold showers, not having those regular flus. And also, even though it might be coming, I already know the symptoms. So I know that I, for instance, need to jump and get another cold shower during the day just to get my immune system boost up and fight it back, right?
Yeah.
So that's how the journey began for me, and then step by step, we are here now and
incredible
talking with you and going through the whole process and understanding the body a little bit better too.
Yeah, and then you get to actually put the pieces together as to why this actually worked for me.
For sure. And hopefully some people are gonna get inspired and maybe gonna try it for themselves. Definitely.
I hope so.
Marissa is the person to reach out to.
Yes.
If you need any assistance, or you want to just learn about it at the beginning, if it's something for you or not.
Yeah.
But Marissa, since you're a maverick, you go around your life trying to find the situation and your own way of doing things. And you gave us a couple stories. What's your failure story?
Failure story. What is my failure story in my practice, like in my
whatever it might be in your practice, might be in the previous life, as people say it, or
oops, sorry. Failures are so important to talk about. I don't even know. What's my failure story? I feel like when I first started in naturopathic medicine, I feel like I knew it all. I thought I knew it all, I should say. And I think that's my biggest failure. And that way of thinking was my biggest failure, because it actually led to some mistakes and missing things, and that assumption mentality that a lot of medical doctors have. And I was lacking that listening piece and that assessment piece, because I just, fresh out of school, I know it all. And I think that's my biggest failure. And I can think of some patients specifically that I totally mishandled, and it wasn't in a dangerous way, but I didn't get to help them the way that I can now. Yeah. Because I had that mentality. And I think that's my biggest failure, because my biggest, I think the way to look at it now and what I've learned from that is that I actually know nothing. I know nothing. And when somebody walks into my office, it's like a blank canvas, and I'm learning them, because no matter how much I know, I don't know that person, right? I can read all the research studies in the world that say this is really good for this, and I give it to somebody and it doesn't work, or it gives them adverse effect or something. And it's like, what? How? Right? But the research says. And so what I'm learning now is every person is an opportunity to learn, and you're learning that individual specifically, and having that new perspective with every person. And just admitting I don't know everything. I don't know anything, actually, and I'm learning as I go. And I think that's been the biggest thing that I've taken away from that massive failure that I did have at the beginning.
Okay. That's a good one, for sure. So, on that note, how do you would say that you are different?
I think my way of thinking is very different. I think about life much different than I think a lot of people do. I see the world, I think, very differently than a lot of people do. Sometimes it could be very negative, especially lately. And you look around and it's just consumerism and people, you know, being sold to and people being lied to. Yeah. And I think that is a big strength though. And I think that does make me quite different because I can now rise above what is being kind of projected to us. And I don't kind of fall into these, I don't know, just the consumerism too, like with social media, being sold to with like different, you know, items of material goods and whatnot. Sure. And my goals are now to really be away from it all and to be, you know, own a homestead and really be self-sufficient and, you know, do solar powered energy as opposed to being on, you know, the hydro grid and things like that, because I just see the power and manipulation that can happen. And I really am being awake to that now. I just really want to be able to step away from that and kind of live into my own my own way of living. But I really want that to be community based.
That's nice. That's actually something that I spoke with Chris, our chiro, nice, that actually came on the show yesterday. We were really? Talking about going and finding local farmers and food sources which are real, without pesticides or any additives, and they are clean, and the way the food should be in the first place, the way the food was always before, until it became a big corporation and big business. Just a source of proper ingredients and nutrients and all good stuff, right? Not some good, some bad, right? So it's funny because it's super hard to find all good ingredients that you know that are good for you. It is becoming trendy, but it's also becoming harder and harder to get those products, right? Because Chris was talking about 100 miles radius. To get everything through from 100 miles radius, that's how it was back in the day. That's how you got your products. But now, just looking around Toronto agglomeration, basically 100 miles, maybe you're gonna have around 100 miles, you're gonna have some fields starting, or some crops or farms and stuff like that, but not anywhere closer, right? Everything is being built out there. So the same way, we got the less food that is easily accessible.
And I mean, even if it is within the 100 miles, there's a lot of places that are just monocropping, right? It's just all one crop, which means they're all competing in the soil for the exact same nutrients, or they're using pesticides and things that are very toxic for our system. And yes, it's 100 times better than buying it from, you know, Guatemala, which we're not in the same climate as, and it's much better to get it more local if you can. Of course, there's some things that you can't, but it's still very difficult. It's still very difficult. So that's where I think growing your own food can be super empowering. And even if it only makes one meal in the entire summer, it brings the awareness around like what it takes to make food. Right? There will be no more food waste after you try and grow carrots. It's like you see the value that's actually being put into this garden.
That's right.
It's like, oh my, this was a whole summer's worth of carrots and I just ate them in one meal. Like, I'm never gonna throw out another carrot again, right? It's like it creates that connection to food that I think a lot of us are missing.
True.
So I would love for, you know, that to be a little bit more trendy, is starting your own garden for a lot of people, and really learning that connection to food, and then you value the quality of the food a little bit more, and the care that goes into it, and then we can kind of demand a little bit more excellence in our society too, when there is more people looking for that. For
sure. And there is, as you say, it's way easier to approach those farmers or promote them or give them enough funding or gratification or payment for their crops, so they will produce more of that. That is natural and way better, right, for us in general. Marissa, from where you stand now, where do you want to go?
I plan, personally, I want to buy property with my partner Andrew, and we plan on, like, is that what you mean, like with my life or physically in the world?
Both.
Okay. Well, I'd love to go to Costa Rica.
Okay. All right.
I'd love to go to Costa Rica. And
but
like,
forever, or
maybe,
okay.
but probably not, because we do want kids one day, and I really do value being close to family, and both of our families are here.
Okay.
So maybe that would be something that we maybe spend like the month of January, Feb, one day like that. We're like snowbirds even before we're retired. That would be lovely. But no, personally, we would love to go like a little bit more north. We're in Brampton right now, so we want to go more north and buy property.
Okay.
And we want to start like a nature retreat center where people can come and really heal, immersed in nature, and have a full week being taught these types of principles, and being taught about food, and being taught about like ice, the power of cold therapy, and the power of silence and meditation, and really being immersed in that. And we plan to open something like that, like a nature retreat property in Ontario one day, hopefully soon, whenever we can kind of achieve that.
Is there a timeline?
Oh man, we're so eager. We're so eager. We actually just wrote a letter just saying, dear homeowner, this is our intentions with our future property. And if you know anybody who's looking to sell to somebody, with these types of intentions, please pass this letter along, because when we look on something like realtor.ca, it's like millions of dollars for what we want. Yeah. So we're kind of hoping to connect with somebody in our community and with similar intentions. And I don't know, I'm just kind of putting it out there to say like, it'll happen. Yeah. Because I don't want to do the thing where we buy a condo and then we buy a townhouse and then we buy a home, and then when we're 80 we finally get our property with our nature retreat. It's I do feel like the urgency, like the world needs this now, so we're just putting it out there to say like, what kind of connections can we make so that we can really make this happen. So that's amazing. Yeah, so hopefully within the next 2-3 years, but that's awesome. We'll see. That's a good one. Good deadline. Deadline. Yeah. I will be definitely checking on how it's progressing. Please do keep us accountable. Oh yes, for sure. I would definitely love to visit. That's for sure. Yeah. That kind of retreat, and I feel just being in such a big agglomeration that GTA is, Grand Toronto area is. It's so many people, so many buildings, so much concrete that you cannot really too much sit down with yourself in quiet. Even if you try to be silent for a little bit, to be with your own thoughts, you're gonna have all the distraction outside. And like, I love nature, and it's really far away from the city. Yeah. You've got spots like basically pimples on the map. Yes. Of a little bit of greenery, but still it's so busy out there that it's not the same experience, right? I know. And even energetically, like when you try and sit still, like even if everything around you is silent, there's the energy, that buzzing that the city holds. So it makes it extra difficult. For sure. Definitely. Since we have been talking about what you want to achieve and where you want to get, do you have a specific way you go about setting up goals in your life, that you... a framework, or I don't know, a way, a program, whatever you might call it, like the way you would go about figuring out the goal first and then trying to make it more feasible, divided, whatever it might be? So I write out my goals. I do like a yearly write out, and then Andrew and I also do every quarter. Okay. Writing out our goals. And so usually what I do is I actually do it for the year, and then I'll try and like break it up into the quarters. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll break it up even smaller. Usually I do. And then that way we can like kind of make it achievable. So often we try and make goals that are like not achievable just to make it massive, and you never know what's going to come. For sure. And sometimes we reach it, which is wild. And sometimes we don't. And it's just like, okay, we're not disappointed, but it's like creating goals that you're just always going to reach is just like always playing it safe. Yeah. So we really do try and stretch ourselves a bit. So I'd say like writing out our goals, personal, professional, goals together, and goals solo. I think that has been very helpful for us. Okay. And then just checking in with them. We took a course once where it said to check in daily on our goals, which we were able to do for like 2 or 3 weeks, which was so profound, but we didn't carry forward that habit, unfortunately. And I would love to get back to that, because having goals and working towards them, it really brings structure to your day.
Oh yes, for sure. It's give you that grounding level, especially if you review them in the beginning of the day, then you know like you are walking through their day like with a purpose. Right?
Exactly. It's like clear and driven.
That's right. I would ask you where you want to go next in discovery of the world, but you already told me, which is Costa Rica. Are there any other places that you want to visit and see and discover?
Yeah, I do want to go to India.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to go to India again. That's Andrew's culture, and
you've been already, or
no?
Okay.
He has, but I would like to go. He still has family there.
All right.
Yeah, so that would be incredible. And the other place I will be going actually this year is Switzerland, because Andrew's brother is there and graduating from his PhD. So we're gonna go.
Nice.
We've already been there, and I love it there. It's incredible. The energy there is amazing.
It is.
So we're gonna go and celebrate his PhD graduation, and then also explore the country a little bit more with his entire family, which will be really nice.
A little bit of skiing too.
Unlikely, because it'll be like in the summer, probably. So, but that's okay. I'm not a huge skier, anyways.
However, the beauty of Alps is that you will still have the old iceberg. I think that's they call it. You can ski in short sleeve.
Really.
Some places. I don't know if it's in Swiss Alps, but it definitely there are a couple places in Alps that you can do that. So.
Wow. Oh yeah, that would be an experience, eh?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm looking forward to going back to Alps at some point, for sure. It's different. It's just different. It's beautiful for sure. And the funny thing is, it's out of the blue, but I just remind myself that I think the Switzerland is the most densely bunker built country on the planet. Bunker.
Really?
I think there are hundreds of thousands of bunkers in Switzerland, in every mountain range, because that's how they became or kept neutrality during the war.
Oh wow!
Just by bracing themselves. Yeah, they were a pretty great nation, just digging through the mountains, and there are tons of them apparently out there.
I had no idea. That's interesting.
Yeah, you can probably just ask a regular person who you're gonna meet. They usually majority of people would have a bunker in their own house in the basement.
Wow.
They will keep random stuff in it, but it would have the bunker door, thick concrete walls and all of that,
so that's
which is
the place
crazy.
to be at the end of the world, then, eh?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. They are ready for that. That's 100%.
Big preppers.
I remember watching a documentary about it, and I was amazed.
Wow.
On the note of people around you that we spoke about a little bit earlier, do you feel like you have your own tribe, your own community around you?
I am very lucky because the naturopathic community has become a community, right? So I have a lot of good friends who are also naturopaths, and I would consider them, like my tribe. And then I also have my family as a big community. Being where I am in Brampton, I wouldn't say that we have an amazing community in right where I am, and I really love it, but it's not as much of a deep connection as some like my family connection and my some of my friend groups. I would say I do feel very well supported and connected.
Awesome.
With different aspects of my community.
That's amazing. And if you, on that note, if you would, talking about the tribe and people around you, what would you do to help a person in that tribe to feel that they belong more?
I guess go back to my specialty of just listening and connecting. I think there comes like this deep care for people that can be felt when it's genuine. That's and true. Just authentically, showing up for them and just I guess just listening and just connecting on that level.
Awesome. You are the best example of the listening part for sure.
Thank you.
And connecting. So I'm gonna basically bombard you with some questions. You ready?
Bring it on.
Okay. Um, who is your ideal client?
My ideal client would be someone who's willing to show up for themselves. And someone who's like, that light on thing that I said earlier. It's like someone who has like their light on and they're just like, they're ready. They're showing up and they're like, let's do this. I'm fully committed. And I'm ready to be, I'm ready to do this for myself. And where I like to step in is the self-empowerment piece. It's not like I'm your God and you have to listen to everything. It's everything that I recommend is, does this resonate with you?
That's
right. And I really like working with people who are like that self-aware, or at least willing to become more self-aware, and work towards that self-empowerment, because that's where the money is. And I love it when people come back and they're like, I did this and I feel so much better. And I don't even need like, thank you. You know, it's like they're coming back so damn proud of themselves. And that's what really lights me up. So I like that type of human.
Awesome. And on the lighter note, what do you do for fun?
For fun, I really do like to go for walks and be in nature. We have a small dog who you've met, River, and she loves being outside. She's like, if we go to, she likes to go outside 3 times a day, because we've made that habit for ourselves, because we like to be outside. So if we're having a lazy day, she'll tell us, she'll just like whack us in the leg a bunch of times and she's like, let's go, we haven't been outside. So she really keeps us accountable to that. And I love it. I love being outside. And I also love to hang out with my niece. She's how old is she now? 3 and a bit. And she just lights my whole family up. She's incredible. She's so funny and special. Yeah, I just love her so much. So
that's cool.
I love hanging out with her. She definitely brings a lot of joy to my life.
That's amazing. And a little bit tougher note. Okay. What's your biggest problem?
The biggest problem, I guess my biggest problem would be maybe an overcommitment. Like right now I have, even in my practice, like I have a 2-week wait list. That if you want to see me, it would be a while. And if somebody, asks me, but please, I really have to, I'll just always fit them in, because I care. And I also just overcommit to myself. And I do find that becomes a problem sometimes, because I'm the product, right? It's like, and I need to show up 100%. So if I am stretching myself too thin, then the patient will suffer in the long run, because they don't get the best version of me. So I'd say I'm very bendable in that way, and I do end up kind of overcommitting myself in ways that I
get you. I understand how that can feel sometimes. For sure. In terms of being a business owner and the Maverick, what are the financial lessons that you wish you learned earlier? Might be tax incentive strategies, laws, maybe some creative accounting, whatever it might be, investment strategies.
I'm still willing and wishing to learn all those things. So I wish I learned all those, aka right now. But I think my biggest thing that I've learned more recently, and I'm grateful to learn it now, but I do wish I learned it a little bit earlier, was my mindset around money. Okay. And even the way I talk about money is that, you never say I can't afford that, or it's like, this is not a financial, if you can't afford it, it's like you can, but it's not a financial priority right now. And even just thinking about, there's this feeling sometimes of never having enough, and it keeps you in this poor mentality. Right. And being able, I've worked with a coach on this, actually. Her name's Emily Elliott, and she's incredible. And she's big into mindset work, and she's helped me to totally shift my perspective on money and the way I talk about it, the way I think about it. And this abundance mentality can be opened up. And I think that's the one thing that's really changed. My financial status has actually changed because of it too, but also the way I look at money, right? And it's not like, oh, there's never enough, like poor me. It's like, no, there's more coming. Right. And I know that this is a huge impact on the way then I can carry myself in the world, and I can show up for activities. Because before I was doing, things with my friends, but feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I can't afford this. I shouldn't be spending the money. Right. And it's like, and then it affects the way that you show up in that activity. That's right. Or the way that you should go out for dinner or whatever. But having this change in mentality while still respecting money.
Yep.
Right? You're not just blowing it because there's more coming, right? There's that balance between still respecting it and using it wisely, but also knowing you're in that abundant state. That's a huge, huge shift for me financially. And I do wish I'd learned that earlier, but it is also in perfect timing.
I think there are some things that there are just coming to us in the right time, right?
Yeah.
We like the best example that I can give from my own life is like reading a book.
Yes.
You read a book, you're gonna hear one thing. You're gonna read it 5 years from now. It's gonna be completely different things that you're gonna learn from it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's exactly. It sounds like it came in the right time for you.
I'd say so too. Yeah.
Amazing.
Definitely.
That's the most important, that it is, you feel that way, right? In terms of maybe technology, relationships, tools, what are those that you leverage to speed up the process for you to win in what you do?
I think, what do I use to speed up the process in which I win? I like that question. I guess I have like this online scheduling platform that definitely takes away like the having to go back and forth and whatnot.
Yeah.
That way I can spend more time doing what I am good at. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't want to say my phone because it feels like a a rock and chain for me sometimes.
For sure.
But it definitely helps things, like it's definitely connecting with people and whatnot, and like that's the way that people can feel comfortable to come see me is through a phone call like that. And I think that it does actually really help me as much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to throw it in the ocean.
Oh yeah. I feel you. Working on the phone, I know how it is sometimes. Yeah. But the best example that you gave is the scheduling part, because this way you can be more efficient as well, right? So that's
massively,
that basically it's the nitty-gritty of arranging one meeting with one person might take a lot of time, and doing that with multiple that is stealing from what you do best, right? Exactly. And if you can use a platform like that just to make sure that it's going to work better, yeah, for sure. What would the platform be? Do you remember?
It's called Outsmart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's specific for naturopathic doctors or people in the health field, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
It works.
That's great. 3 or 1 books that you would recommend everybody read?
I'd say my favorite book in the world is an Eckhart Tolle book. Are you familiar with him? He's got a good perspective on life, I think. And I read a book called Awakening to Your Life's Purpose.
Okay, yeah.
And I read it recently, within the last year. And I've recommended it to so many people. Because his perspective on life's purpose is being in the present moment, right? Because we're constantly in this to-do list for the future, an anxious state, or thinking about the past, which can bring a depressed state, right? And it's the power is in this moment right now. Yeah. And that's awakening to your life's purpose, is being here in this moment as you are right now and continuing to return. Another book that I love, kind of in the same topic, was wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. It's it's a quite old book, but it really is a very introductory level on mindfulness. And I think it's so powerful for people to have that perspective, because we're just bustling through life these days.
That's right.
And I'd say the third book would be The Alchemist. Have you heard of him?
Oh, yes.
Or this one?
Oh, yes.
I love this book because it's a fiction book, but it has really, really potent values in it. And I won't give any spoilers, but it's, I think it's a really, really great book to read.
funny story. Chris mentioned alchemist
Really?
yesterday as well,
Oh,
as
that's
as
interesting.
one of the first ones for him.
Okay.
And
Have
he
you read
had-
it?
Oh yes, I
Okay.
did. I think I read it like twice already.
Yeah.
And every time it brings a new value, and Chris confirmed it. He said he hated the first time when he read it,
Yeah.
but the second and the third time it just opened up a different
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you ready for two little bit deeper, tougher questions?
Bring it on.
What question would you like to be asked more often?
Ooh. What question would I like to be asked more often?
And be selfish.
I really like the question, what do you need right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually first heard this question in a powerful way. There was somebody on the streets of Toronto, and they're having a meltdown, and they're mentally unwell, and they're having a meltdown on the middle of the streets. And we were in a restaurant on a patio, and they were across the way. Actually, I think they were closer. Anyways, people were just crossing the street to get away from this person, walking around them, whatever. And one person walked right up to this person and bent down to their level and said, "What do you need right now?" And me and my friend who I was with, Danielle, we both were like, wow, what a question.
It's a powerful one for sure.
Yeah, because, sometimes, even with my partner or in my own, world, I can just not be myself, or my best self, I should say. And I think that question can really bring into, is it, if I'm snappy at Andrew or something, it's like, well, is it about this, or is there something deeper? What do you need right now, right? Is there something that you're feeling that you need? Is it space? Is it acknowledgement, right?
Yeah.
And then that reflective question is not like, how can I help you? It's like, well, what do you need? Acknowledge that for yourself.
That's
and
right.
Then maybe it can be met either from yourself or somebody else. I think I really like that question. I think that would be a powerful question to be asked more often.
It's a deep one for sure. So what do you need right now?
What do I need right now? I'm a little bit warm. I might an open window.
Well, we're gonna open that in a second. Yeah, no problem.
No, I'm just kidding. I feel like right now what I need is a vacation, like 4 days of nothing. And it doesn't even need to be, away, but I do like the feeling where, like, when I'm in my world as I am right now, it's I have to-do lists and I have things to do.
Go.
Yeah. And it's hard sometimes for the nervous system to wind down, and I do take days off, and that's great. I actually really, really love my work too. But there's something different about taking 3+ days where you're doing nothing. After the third day, I find your body's finally like, and it's like, I'm home. So I do feel like I need a little reset right now,
And sometimes that 4 days is kind of a meltdown.
Yes.
You lose all the energy suddenly, and it's like, I've been resting for 3 days. Where is that coming from?
Yes, yeah, but I think that'd be very valuable right now.
Okay, all right. So the final question of the day.
Yes.
What have been the greatest day of your life?
The greatest day of my life. I don't know. There's so many good ones.
First thing that comes to mind.
Well, I had 2 images. Going back to what I like to do is River and my niece Braylon. And the first time I met both of them were very profound for me. I have a picture when I first met Braylon, and she came home from the hospital, and I was at my sister's house awaiting their return home. They have a dog, so we were watching the dog while they were at the hospital. And she was passed to me, and actually this isn't the first time I met her. This is just the first. I did meet her in the hospital, which was beautiful too, but this was a different moment. And we just looked at each other. And babies don't typically have their eyes open that much. Yeah. But there was this connection with our eyes that lasted like 40 seconds. And we were just staring at each other in each other's eyes. And she just felt so familiar to me. And I think that there was this really deep soul connection that maybe in a different lifetime, or I don't know what it was yet, but there was a really deep connection that was very profound. And my mom actually took a photo of it at that moment, so I have that as well. But that was a very profound day. And same with actually when I met my dog, which seems silly to say after this beautiful
and it's a wrap. We dare you. If you are bold enough, hit subscribe, repost the rebellion, and don't miss out on next week's episode. It's going to be bloody brilliant. See you on the next one.
She was passed to me, and the same thing. It was like this rooted, like all of a sudden, like our eyes were connected, and it was just like whoosh, like this, like I've met you before feeling, and a very profound connection, feeling that it was just so beautiful. So 2 amazing days, but I have lots, gratefully.
Though both of those were definitely 2 amazing stories. I appreciate all the wealth of knowledge that you shared today. I hope some people get inspired and gonna go deeper and dig deeper on the natural levels of wellness and health. And definitely reach out to Marissa and check her practice if for any assistance.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Marissa, it was a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
It was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.